Hey guys, this is Paul Potter, the Grand Lake Guy. Today I'm here with Flopping Crappie, and we're going to be sharing some summertime crappie fishing secrets. You're not going to want to miss it. It's coming up right now in this video.
Hey guys, this is Paul Potter, the Grand Lake Guy. This channel is all about helping you increase your crappie fishing catch rate by sharing tricks and techniques that I use as a crappie fishing guide on Grand Lake in Oklahoma. So if this is your first time here, consider hitting that subscribe button and giving us a like by hitting the thumbs up below. Sponsored by ACC Crappie Sticks and Bonehead Tackle.
Probably won't put that in there.
No, I'd edit that out.
Okay guys, so summertime fishing secret number one is you got to learn what the thermocline is. So here in Oklahoma, wintertime is pretty much over. And in the wintertime, the water and the oxygen is just kind of mixed together. It's dispersed throughout the whole lake, which basically makes the whole lake habitable for the fish. They can go anywhere they want. 90 feet, 40 feet, 10 feet, doesn't matter. But now in the summertime, what's going to happen is that oxygen is actually going to be pushed to the top half of the lake, and a thermocline is going to start to develop. And when this thermocline develops, there is zero oxygen below the thermocline. And I'll put a picture of what the thermocline looks like on a down image and like on a 2D sonar. But here in Oklahoma, which is different from Flopping Crappie here, he's from Wisconsin, and we all know that, you know, Oklahoma, Wisconsin weather, two totally different things. But here in Oklahoma, you know, summer is the longest season we have, and we get 3 months of solid, stable weather. And for us, it's one of our favorite times to go crappie fishing. All we have to do is target brush piles and structure that is above the thermocline, and usually deep water, no more than 20-25 feet is kind of the main. That's what we target. That's the area we like to target for crappie. But yeah, how's that work for you though? What's, you know, what's your summertime pattern look like? Kind of that winter transition to summer. What's that look like for you?
Well, just to go into the thermocline, some of our lakes up north, because they're so small and they might be so shallow, they don't develop a thermocline. And just to go into depth of what a thermocline is, basically it's a compounding of oxygen, and you'll actually see it on screen. He showed it to you, and what happens is all the microbes in the water, they'll get stacked up because they won't be able to float above that mark, and they won't be able to sink above that mark. And you'll see them on your 2D sonar, your traditional sonar. It'll be just this line of just little dots. Is that what kind of looks for you?
Yeah,
a bunch of little dots. Yeah. And the reason a lot of times you don't see a whole lot of fish below that is because the oxygen levels are so low. Fish can go below it, but they don't stay below it because, one, there's not enough oxygen. Two, there's a possibility they become infertile. The only fish I've ever heard of actually living below it are lake trout. It's the only one on our Great Lake systems. And there have been studies that some of them become infertile because it's so little oxygen below that thermocline. But on the lakes that are deep enough that do have that thermocline from winter to summer transition, we generally don't have as warm of summers, obviously, as Oklahoma. So our thermoclines don't really develop till that let's say late June, mid-July type of, you know, midsummer for us. Because right now in June, the smallmouth this week, it's the second week of June, there's still smallmouth pushed up shallow, probably spawning. Crappie are probably all done, but there's probably some bluegill spawning. So we're probably three weeks behind you guys in terms of just the spawning cycle.
But so you guys are spawning now?
Yeah, well, crappie probably just finished up last week. So usually end of May, first week of June, that's when crappie are pretty much finished up. But smallmouth and sometimes largemouth will still go into that first and possibly the second week of June for their spawning cycle, which is crazy for a lot of people from the south because they come up there and they're like, how is this possible, you know?
Right. It's all about the water temperature and what degrees that water temperature is that they're going to spawn. And sometimes they're not going to spawn the same time in Wisconsin as they are in Oklahoma. It's just not going to happen. So, and that's why I like this episode, because summertime crappie fishing, it's different. So you're getting two different perspectives here, which brings me to crappie fishing secret number 2, which is fish in the shaded areas. So crappie fishing secret number 2 is find shaded areas to fish in. So, and I don't know how that works for you. I know your summertime isn't as long, but in Oklahoma, we're looking, when we're fishing under bridges or fishing under cover, we know that the crappie like that shade, and they hang out in it and they ambush stuff. So that's number 2 you're going to want to know for this secret.
Yeah, just because crappie is a panfish and it's pretty much eaten by bass and all this stuff doesn't mean it's not a predator fish. Okay, it's going to sit in that shade and it's going to ambush those bait fish as they swim by, just like any big game species, really. Up north, yeah, we do some bridge fishing, but a lot of it for shade is actually the deeper weed lines for us.
Okay.
So they'll sit on the edges of those deeper weed lines in that 15, 20 feet of water, because we get really clear water up there, so that sunlight can penetrate really far down, and we get 15 to 20 foot weed lines, or the weed lines are in 15, 20 feet of water. Yes. I don't know how deep they get here because it's a little bit chocolate milk sometimes. It's a little bit stained.
The water is changing, and that brings up crappie fishing secret number 3. Actually, is the water clarity. So in summertime, when you're fishing different lakes, you got to know what water clarity. You got to know what lake you're fishing. You got to know the water clarity and what it means. So, like you were asking about that, our weed lines can go anywhere from 4 feet to 10 feet, and it is a cooler area for them to hang out in. But yeah, you need to know how. In clear water, the sun's going to penetrate, right? Yep. And for you guys, the sun's going to penetrate 10, 15 feet down in a clear lake. Would you say so?
Yep. Yep.
See, and in this lake, you can tell behind us, this is more stained, dingy water. The sun is only going to penetrate 3 to 4 feet. So you got to know, and that's going to cause, weed lines to grow at different depths and whatnot, depending on water clarity. So, and most of the time what I've found is crappie like to hang out right below the visibility line where the sun is penetrating. So if the sun is penetrating 4 feet down and it's hitting that stained area, that's what it's going to warm up, and that's what is going to release oxygen, and that's going to be where they're hanging out. They're not going to be above that. So in a clearer lake, you may need to fish deeper.
Yeah, and
if the sun's really penetrating down, you may have to go deep for them.
Well, or you just got to be very conscious of where your boat is. So the crappie will be able to see your boat in a lot clearer water. They'll be able to see that shadow. So you might not be able to vertical jig. I mean, a lot of people up north, you don't see the 10, 12, 14-foot jig poles because you really can't get to that close to that fish sometimes. Even if you're fishing a brush pile in 15 feet of water, the clarity, it's so clear that you're going to spook the fish by sitting right there over the top of them. And you see a lot of guys with slip bobbers up north. It's slip bobbers and minnows. You cast out away from the boat.
Yes.
You're 30, 40 yards casting, and that's pretty much how they fish them a lot up there.
That's funny. That brings up a good point because I've talked about that before on here. I like to have about 10 foot. I like the fish to be about at least 10 foot or more below my boat if I'm going to vertically fish over them. And that's even in stained water because they do like to move and you can spook them. But for him, he's talking about clear water. You've got to actually cast away from them. You've got to be away from them because it's clear water. They can see you. So using a slip bobber, that's something to remember, guys.
Yep.
And he thought about using a slip bobber and casting away from them.
In the last, kind of going into what tactics to use for the crappie fishing secrets, today we were fishing a bridge and in some clearer water, and we switched up to more of a blue and chartreuse type of bait instead of our black and our natural type of bait. I know this is going to be a huge conflict, but a lot of people say, oh, you got to fish the natural colors in stained or dirty water. But scientifically, it's the opposite. The sunlight penetrates deeper in the clear water. The fish can see the chartreuse, the hot pinks, the bright yellows a lot better in that clear water than they can in muddy water. Now, whether or not it's going to make you or catch more fish, I don't know. So go ahead and use some of these crappie fishing secrets to put some slabs in the boat this summer. We'll see ya.
It'll work. We like it. Thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button. Go check out Flopping Crappie's channel. I'll put that down below. See you guys next time. Have a good one.